So this build leverages the shotgunning potential of Caustic Arrow's AoE, a hit portion, not just the damage over time from the cloud, and the Nimis ring, which allows projectiles to return to you. So looking at the interaction here, we can see that when you fire a Caustic Arrow projectile out, regardless of what direction it goes out in, it'll always come back to you with this ring on. In other words, if you fire right below yourself, you're guaranteed to get at least 2 hits. If you combine this with a lot of extra projectiles, well in my case I have 22 I think total hits, that's a lot of hits. Even though Caustic Arrow has a really bad base damage multiplier for its hits, with this many hits and without the penalty of reduced damage because of how GMP and Greater Volley work, you still have something like 1400% damage effectiveness, which is pretty good. The major downside to this build, of course, is that you're basically playing as melee as possible. The clear is really smooth, not only because of the great clear of Caustic Arrow, but also because you have an Ink AoE Plague Bear and Prolift from the Pathfinder Ascendancy. And I think the damage is fine. I've been able to do Ubers with this. I'm able to farm really smoothly through maps. It's been a really great experience to play this build. It's just super smooth. But it's not something I'd recommend as is because I think it really lacks defensively. There are ways to build in Fizz mitigation, but I think the power of the Covenant in this particular build is really hard to give up. And once you put on that chest piece, you end up sacrificing a lot of defenses, especially if you're not using a shield. The one thing that makes this build amazing for me, especially and very obviously, is the MTX. It looks so good. I think the MTX for the skill was way too nice to pass up on, so I'm loading it up, playing this for a little bit, and then I'm going to reroll this character into something else later. But let's go over the details. So I know Pulstron's done something similar with CA Ballista before, I think, so I'm going to guess that some of the items look sort of similar, but I'm not really sure. I know that the Covenant's being used, and that's because it gives you a ton of flat chaos. I'm using a Darkscorn as a bow. I'd much rather have a rare bow, but this is like pretty good for this kind of, poison-based bow build. Diadem lets me convert all my costs to ES. Asnath is really great at automating one of your curses. And because of how temp chains works, a level 1 temp chains is about as good offensively as a level 20 temp chains, though defensively it's not as good. Adziri's step is really great because I need this much suppression because of all the uniques I'm using, and obviously the Nimis ring is right here. A +1 quiver with dot multi is, I just hit a random essence and I got this. Dot multi on the amulet, nothing special, some rings with resist, life, and then a belt with resist and life, and then regular jewels and poison, some life, and then my flask setup. Something super crazy going on over here. In terms of the treat, it also looks pretty regular as far as a poison attack based build. Most builds these days will go to Whispers of Doom. I start up at Ranger, go up here, avoiding this projectile stuff, grabbing some of the Chaos Dot multi, getting suppression from both Inveterate and Entrench, life nodes where I can, and this Mark node was really great, giving me Frenzy Gen, but also Culling Strike, automating that. One big thing to note is that even though I'm a Pathfinder, I do need to grab Natural Remedies in addition to a Sanctified Relic I'm using, giving me 2 flasks per second, or 2 flasks every 3 seconds, I think. But this lets me actually sustain my flasks fully. I didn't actually put a lot of thought into completing this character, so there's actually a lot of empty gems. My Caustic 6 thing is like this. Again, there's awakened versions of all these. Term, Grace, Herald of Agni, and Precision are my 4 auras. VMS with cast damage taken is pretty standard. Frostblink and Blink arrows, a movement skill combination you want to be using on a bow build because you don't have shield charge. I have a Plague Bear with Ink AoE. I'd probably throw in Empower on here. Again, free sockets, you might as well, but didn't want to invest that much in this build. Divine Spanner is one more aura that I can fit in because of Variant Diadem. And then Sniper's Mark is really great because it gives you those extra projectiles and Frenzy Generation. And then Malevolence is over here on Divine Blessing. It's possible that going Self-Cast Despair might be better, but honestly, I don't really feel like doing that, and I'm definitely not going to Hex Touch this patch. All in all, I thought this was a pretty cool build, showing one of the applications of the new ring that I put in the game. I think there are far more powerful combinations, but this is the one that stood out to me most when I was doing Reach of the Council testing, and also the one that was easiest for me to set up just because of how many uniques there are. Anyway, stay tuned, a lot of spellcasters are coming up, and I hope to see you soon.